Okay, the lighter circular cast-on. I know of two ways of doing this. There's one way on TECHknitter's blog, and there's one way on Eunny Jang's retired blog, So Eunny Knit. I think TECHknitter calls it the disappearing cast-on. Anyway, they're really very similar. They both start with a loop of yarn like this. The difference is TECHknitter's way starts with the tail on top of the yarn to the ball. Eunny Jang's way starts with the yarn underneath. They're both good. They're both fine. I'll just show both of them. This is Eunny Jang's way. Tail is underneath. Yarn to the ball is on top. Okay. Take your needle, you hold on to that tail good and tight. You don't want to lose it. Take your needle, you stick it into the loop. Bring it around to grab the yarn. That's your first stitch. You lay the yarn over the needle, like a yarn over. That's your second stitch. Work into that loop, yarn over, into the loop, yarn over. Alright, now I've got 2, 4, 6 stitches. Work into the loop, yarn over, that's 8. That's plenty if I'm doing a circle or a square. You pull on the end, it cinches it all nice and tight. You can see how the hole would disappear when working something from the middle. Let's do that again. The yarn tail is underneath. The yarn to the ball is on top. You stick the needle into the loop and work a stitch. Then yarn over. That's your next stitch. Work into the loop. That's your third. Yarn over 4. Work 1, 5. Yarn over 6. Work 1, 7. Yarn over, that's 8. Okay. Pull on the tail. And bring this last stitch, don't lose that last stitch, bring it over that little bit. Keep it in that relationship with the tail so that you know that it's a stitch. Now lately, instead of dividing these onto 3 needles and going insane and worrying about them flying off and whatever, I've been working the first row like I-cord. So you push it all the way to the other end of your needle, cinch it up nice and tight so that it's not going anywhere. Pull real tight on your last stitch and work it nice and tight so it doesn't gape or bag, although you can work out any excess yarn later through the tail. So it's not really critical that it be so tight. You don't have to break your yarn to try to do this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you can see again that hole gets a little bit bigger, and that last stitch is a little elongated because it had to reach. Okay. And then on the next round, again, push it back to the beginning. Instead of dividing it up, I mean, you could divide it up at this point, but instead, I again work it like I-cord, but I work only half the stitches. And I put in my increases because I'm working for something flat. Now, this is stable enough that I would consider doing more than 2 needles. But if it's very floppy, like lace weight yarn on big needles, instead of worsted weight yarn on 7s, I would switch to 2 first. I wouldn't go directly to 3 or 4. But this yarn handles it easily. Don't lose those yarn overs if you're using yarn overs as your increases. And I like using this number because it's easily dividable. Alright, so there you have this method of increasing in the round, not increasing in the round, I was casting on. Okay. So there's my circle or square, whatever I'm making. That little hole goes away if I tighten. Okay? Now, that's Eunny Jang's way from Eunny Knit. TECHknitter's way is very similar. Instead of the tail going underneath the... Okay, so again, this is Eunny Jang's way from Eunny Knit. Tail goes under the working yarn from the ball, and you put your needle into the loop first. Okay? That's her way. That's 4. TECHknitter's way is the yarn, your little tail, goes on top of the loop. Like that. And you lay your yarn over your needle. You yarn over for your first stitch. And then your second stitch, you stick your needle into the loop and pull a stitch through. And that's 4. Yarn over is 5, 6. Yarn over is 7. Work the stitch is 8. Okay? Let's do that again. Your tail goes over. Grab it good. Lay the yarn over the needle. Your yarn over is your first stitch. Work a stitch, that's 2. Yarn over is 3. Work a stitch is 4. Yarn over is 5. Work a stitch is 6. Yarn over is 7. Work a stitch is 8. Okay? This is nice because your first stitch is secured a little more because your tail is here and your last stitch is nicely secure. So you don't have a floppy stitch flopping around, and this is generally the way I use. And again, lately, to work like this, again, keep your tail to the back. To work like this, I've been bringing the yarn around like this as if I'm working I-cord, and work the first round as I-cord. Since again this is a worsted weight yarn and quite sturdy, and I'm working 8 stitches and not 6, if I wanted to split this onto 2 needles I could at this point just by bringing in a second needle at the 4th stitch, or the 5th stitch rather, but I wanted to show this. Okay, again, and then bring it around again on top, and then your increase round, 1, yarn over, 1, yarn over, and I'm going to bring in my other needles because this is getting too bulky to work. 1 yarn over, 1 yarn over, 1 yarn over, yarn over, 1 yarn over, 1 yarn over. Okay. And again, that pretty much disappears. They're almost exactly the same, they just start slightly differently. And they both work the same way. I mean, they both leave you with this beautiful little starburst in the middle that doesn't go anywhere. And you just weave in your tail in the end, and if it's too loose, you can always ease out the excess yarn and pull it out the tail. So, one last time, the lighter circular cast-on. Eunny Jang's method has you bringing the tail underneath. Okay, bringing the tail underneath and securing the first stitch like so. And then yarn overing for the second one like this. Okay, again, from the back like this, And you stick your needle into the loop first to work your first stitch, and then you yarn over for your second. And you stick it into the loop for the third, and you yarn over for the fourth, etc. Pulling on the tail to close it up. Whereas TECHknitter's way is your tail goes on top. So Eunny Jang's way is your tail goes underneath. TECHknitter's way is your tail goes on top. And your first stitch is a yarn over. And your second stitch is work through the loop. Yarn over, work through the loop. Yarn over, work through the loop. Okay? And then you pull on the end to tighten it all up. There you have it. Layer circular cast on.